Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dr. Cammy and Karen Go Keto, where Dr. Cammy and I are transitioning from a standard American diet to a carnivore lifestyle. And we have hit some bumps. We've been doing this, well, we've been committed to carnivore since December 1st of 2024. But we have hit some road bumps, but we have, we're recovering. And in the last video, I talked about my going off plan. And today, Cammy is talking about hers. And we'll turn it over to her. She's going to tell us a little about what happened and what's going on.
Yeah, so hi everybody. Thank you for being here with us. And what happened with me, so on the last video, you talked about how there was a lot of stress for you. You were in a new environment. There was a time, I don't know if you had mentioned it or not, but there was kind of a time constraint for you. You were kind of in a certain amount of time. And the same thing happened with me when I went off plan, when I was helping my girlfriend schedule surgery for her broken arm. And it was just a lot of stress and a lot of pressure and a lot time constraint. And I wasn't able to take the time to soothe and comfort myself in a healthy way. I just checked out. I just said, I need to go eat carbs and sugar. And that's what I did. And then I proceeded to do that for over 10 days. And so one of the things that I was really happy to hear about with Karen is that, she was one meal, and I've been able to get off plan for a short period of time and get right back on. But this time that did not happen for me. So I am back on plan now. And I totally relate to what you were talking about wanting to feel comforted. And so the other thing that comes to mind for me is soothed. And so because I'm looking at, okay, how are some of the ways that how do I interpret what happens when I go off plan compared to how you do it? Because I think that, and we've talked about this briefly, about how I think you have more internal workings that are there that are a little more powerful to to comfort yourself in an internal way so that your external plans stay on track. And one of the reasons why I don't think I am as strong in that way is that when I talk about wanting to eat off plan, you talk about comfort and I talk about comfort too, but I also talk about soothing me. And so I think that causes me to think that it's painful, like there's some pain involved in whatever it is that's going on. I feel like I'm in pain and I feel like I need comfort. And then that's when I check out, because eating the off-plan food seems to eliminate the painful part of it. Initially short-lived, right? Because
Right.
then comes the regret very quickly after that. And the regret is very painful. And so then I don't like to look at the regret. So then I'll just keep eating off plan, because then I'll be able to soothe and eliminate the pain, get myself high on sugar, get myself checked out. Then I don't have to deal with the fallout of what's going to happen after I stop eating off plan, and the regret and the big body and all of these other things that come. I'll just keep myself checked out of that. And then what it does is just make it all worse. It's, well, the body ends up just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And today's Wednesday and I check in tomorrow with Jeff, and it is not going to be a pretty sight.
Well, I think what you just said is an important factor. To say that checking in with Jeff tomorrow is not going to be a pretty sight means you're putting some there's some impact that checking in with Jeff had. And I think that that's one of the things for me. I don't have that. You measure all the time with him, right? You have so you have expectations, and then those expectations are not met, or or they are met, right? You go, oh, I know that like you have some sort of responsibility to Jeff, and you have let him down because of what you did during the past. I don't have that. That's one of the reasons why I don't weigh myself. I can tell if I'm gaining weight because my clothes don't fit or my clothes fit differently,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell when I'm losing weight. I was shocked one day when I put a bra on and the clasp, I had to go all the way to the tightest clasp to get it to fit properly. And, that's just a sign. But what I'm committed to is eating carnivore, and I know that it will work, right? There's no way that it can't work. If I've fat on my body and all I do is eat animal products, then eventually my body will change enough to eat the fat that's on my own body at some point. So I don't worry about what I weigh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I even told my brother the other day I didn't want to know what I weighed because I don't want to be disappointed in that I don't weigh. I mean, my doctor's going to weigh me when I go to my next annual, checkup, and I don't want that number to be higher than my last year's because I feel like I've changed my eating. I mean, I've definitely lost weight, but what if I've gained muscle? I could weigh the exact same amount, and I don't want that in my headspace.
yeah,
There's
well, that's what's happened. That's what happened with me, was that
Yeah,
I joined the gym at the same time I started the ketogenic diet,
yeah,
and I lost the fat and gained the muscle and didn't lose a lot of weight.
yeah.
But the other thing too is that, when you said that I'm going to disappoint Jeff, and I really don't worry about just disappointing Jeff. I worry, I'm more concerned about being unhealthy actually and disappointing myself. Because Jeff's going to survive one way or the other. I mean, he's going to measure me and my weight's going to be up and my fat's going to be up and my inches are going to be up. And then, he supports me the best as he can, but it's not really of a consequence to him. It's really a consequence to me. And I think that changing the way that, because we were talking earlier before we taped about thoughts. And I said, that thoughts, you can change your negative thoughts in your head. And then you said, well, thoughts just come. Thoughts will come. And I understand that you do have a thought, but then you can evaluate the thought. And if it's a negative thought, you can change it. You can say, okay, well, that's a negative thought about me. I'm going to change that thought.
Well, you
And
don't
you
really
have,
change the thought. You just change your way of being to reduce the number of thoughts that you have that come that way,
I see what you're saying.
right? You're
But
trying to change the underlying voice that creates the thought,
the underlying, you're trying to change the creation of the thought from the get-go.
right? Because you can't change the thought once you've had the thought. I mean, if you thought that I was wearing the same shirt, you can't change that thought. I'm not wearing the same shirt. I changed my shirt. But
Right.
you can now know and then think, oh, Karen changed her shirt. This is a new thought. Karen changed her shirt, but it looks just like her old shirt.
Right. But so you can't change your thought, but you can change your way of being.
Right,
You can change your way of being so that you don't have those thoughts from the beginning.
right.
And
Like why do you
that's what I'm
right.
working on. That's what I want to do. I want to change my way of being.
Well, you look at all the other things in your life, how you've changed your ways of being in the past, and what works for you. For me, and you know what? My schedule was such yesterday I probably didn't do my daily motivational. Usually I do a daily motivational that I listen to solely for the purpose to put me in a space. Sometimes it's Tony Robbins, sometimes it's Jordan Peterson, and I've started a new guy, the Daily Stoic. It was a very interesting channel, over 1 million viewers, I think, or whatever, subscribers. So he's very popular. He's got quite a few books out. He's motivational because the Stoics were, sometimes life looks like it sucks, but you live anyway. Try to get the most
What's
enjoyment
it
out of
called?
it.
The
The
Daily
Daily
Stoic?
Stoic. Daily,
Okay.
Daily, Stoic, Stoic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ryan, Ryan is his first name. Holiday, maybe?
And yeah, and you know what? You told me the other day that you do that in the morning, and I didn't know that you listened to those two videos in the morning.
Yeah,
And so I liked doing that, and I'm working on that too. I'm reading The Secret. I'm reading about having positive thoughts, and I'm reading about um 365 days to a what's it called when you have
right.
the positive thoughts? Oh, I can't remember. Law of attraction. 365 days to the law of attraction so that I can attract better things into my life. But yeah, I like that. I like that. So you do things in your life that will create a new way of being. And by creating a new way of being, the thoughts will change.
Right. For me, they create this pattern that, it starts me in a positive day. Like I'm unstoppable. If you start in the morning as unstoppable, hopefully it can carry through. And I honestly believe, because sometimes I listen to old-time radio. I like the detective shows on the old-time radio. That was something that Tim turned me on to. I believe that when you listen to shows like detective shows that are always based on murder or violence, it may turn that. And you have a thing where you go to the whatever Dateline or whatever
Forensic
forensic
files.
files, right? And I used to be addicted to Forensic Files or Cold Case or whatever it was called back in the day.
And that's what I do when I binge. When I binge, I go and watch Forensic Files.
And I believe that there's something in there that says something like, well, my life's not that bad.
I see. So I'll watch shows about murder and go, hey, at least I'm alive.
Yeah, or it's something that it comforts you in a totally different level, right? Instead of watching, so that like instead of watching positive videos of other people who are successful on Carnivore, which inspires me, right? Sometimes you don't want to hear that, so you don't,
Yeah, I'll go and watch shows about murder. Yeah. That's interesting that that's an interesting yeah, I don't watch them a lot anymore, actually. Well, I've been watching the NBA playoffs because they're so good. But all right, so this is great. This is talking about a new way of being, and by being different, we can change the thoughts that come into our head, and then we don't have to worry about, new thoughts will come into our head, and then we don't have to worry about changing the negative thoughts that are there. But in the meantime, I'm going to work on changing my negative thoughts that are there until I can create my new way of being, which is in every moment that you have.
Awareness. Power of
Awareness.
Now. Power of Now. Most powerful book in the world.
Power of Now. Break out your Eckhart Tolle, everybody. All right. We'll see you next time.